Can you still see my screen? Just double checking.
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right, perfect. Okay, so the agenda for today is email marketing strategy, email design best practice, email studio. So I'll give you a demo of Marketing Cloud Email Studio, and then we'll touch on email deliverability and IP warmup best practice. We'll have, if we have time, we'll take some more questions at the end. Otherwise, feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll go through them as we go through the presentation and the demo. All right, so first things first, what is email marketing? Email marketing is the strategic use of email to communicate to your customers and prospects about your company brand, or any of your products or services you may be offering, and also to build relationships with them. So email marketing is still king. Long live the email. What does that mean? That the email channel is the most cost-effective communication channel. It has the widest reach, and it has the biggest return on investment. So about 36 to 42% on average, which means that you get about 36 to 42 dollars back for every dollar you spend. So what makes email marketing effective? Well, first of all, you need to have to define your campaign goals. You need to have some clear objectives. So what are you trying to achieve? Do you want to acquire new customers through lead conversion, or do you want to cross-sell, upsell to your existing customer base? Or maybe you want to retain your existing customers and build loyalty. It's very important to have a clear objective in mind when you start your email campaign. Number two is defining a target audience. So the more targeted you are, the better and the more relevant the message is going to be for your customers. So it's important to know how to segment your data based on not only the things that customers tell you about themselves, such as their details and so forth, but also keeping an eye on their behavior and their interaction with your brand, and putting those types of data together, and then come up with your target audience. Then, of course, you will have to build your message, your email content. So again, it's very important to have a clear and relevant message. Don't try and add too much in there. It's typically good to try and communicate about one thing rather than add too many different topics into the same email, which may confuse the recipient. Also, personalization is important these days. Everyone expects personalized communication, from first name to anything else that is relevant to that customer. It's good to include that sort of relevancy into your message. And the good thing with Marketing Cloud is that it has great functionality that allows you to build highly personalized and dynamic content. And we'll go through those later on. Also, subject lines. Don't go and create subject lines that are too long and they don't even fit on the screen. Best practice is to keep it short, keep it sweet, and engaging. Use simple, ideally one-column email templates, because these are mobile friendly, and unless you have really good skills in HTML and CSS, you will need to work out how to stack those content blocks when it's not just when it's like 2 or 3 columns based. Another benefit though from Marketing Cloud is that they do offer some templates out of the box that are already mobile friendly. So unless you build the emails from scratch, you should be good to go with starting with those ones. And then lastly, use a clear, ideally one call to action in your message. Again, it may be confusing when there's too many things to look out for, too many call to action. The recipient might not know what is he meant to do with that message. So having one clear call to action usually helps. Probably in the form of a nice looking button that stands out from the text. All right, so when to use email marketing? Almost in all cases, you are probably good to use email marketing, but mainly if you want to nurture leads, if you have a list of subscribers that have opted in to hear from you, if you want to welcome your new customers, it's always nice to have a communication that talks about your brand and your expectations from the relationship. When you want to build loyalty for your brand, when you want to drive traffic to your website or landing pages, email, again, it's a really good channel to reach a wider audience. So when you update your website or you create a landing page, people might not know how to get to that page. So having an email going out to them to say, hey, we have some new content on the website, check it out. That's always a good strategy. And of course, when you want to send automated confirmation, so based on an action that a recipient has made, so whether it's registering to an event and you want to confirm the event details, or signing up for for another communication, or buying something as well, and getting those confirmation emails straight into their inbox. Some of the benefits of email marketing. So of course, using platforms like Marketing Cloud, it allows you to, or enables you to send that right message at the right time to the right audience. This is the holy grail of email marketing, and this is what that's the main goal and what we're trying to achieve. But it also helps learning about your customers, right? So just taking a look and listening to their engagement. Are they opening your emails? When are they opening your emails? Is it a day of the week better than the other, or a certain time works better maybe? Are they clicking on your content? How much time do they spend reading your emails or just skimming through? Are they coming through your website from email? So are those emails engaging enough to then drive that traffic onto your website? So things like that if you keep an eye on, it actually gives you a lot of insight about your customers, what they want, what they like, and their preferred channels of communications as well. For some of them, or in some cases, it might not be email, but unless you pay attention to these insights and this tracking behavioral activity, then you don't know how to how to get to know them. With email marketing, it's really helpful to nurture leads. So typically, if you have a lead generation campaign, it's always good to have a nurture journey as well that would slowly and progressively nurture those leads before they go into your CRM, and they may be followed up by your sales team. So the content in those emails is typically light and educational, and the goal is to slowly warm up those leads so they're ready to buy quicker. With Marketing Cloud, one of the main benefits is obviously automating these communications. I think no one these days wants to spend hours and hours on end sending out manual emails. So this platform gives you so much functionality that it allows you to create automated journeys. So you configure the emails to go out either at a certain time, at a certain date and time, or if you have a series of emails that will need to go out one after the other based on customer behavior, then you can use Journey Builder to automate that type of journey. And like I mentioned before, personalized messages. Again, this is so important to have and use the data that you have and make messages more personable. This is what, as a customer, I'm looking for personally, and I know all of us do. You can use email templates to increase efficiency. So again, you don't want to spend too much time building individual emails. Best practice is to have a few templates that are already branded. They have a header, a footer, generally just the things that every email would need, and then just reuse those. That will make it a lot quicker to build your emails and then deploy when you need to. And then, of course, email marketing, the email channel is the most cost effective. So if you don't have a big budget for your marketing, then starting with email is the best option. And of course, to be successful, your goal has to align with your customers' needs. So you need to understand what your customers' needs are, what do they want, and so on. Any questions so far? I feel like I'm just rambling on.
Yeah, no, we don't have any questions yet.
All right, great. I'll continue. All right, so this leads us to design. What are some of the design best practice in Marketing Cloud? So as I mentioned, a short, engaging subject line, using a predefined template, of course, the unsubscribe link for commercial emails. So what's commercial versus transactional? Commercial is basically the promotional, salesy type content, whereas transactional is more the service-based triggered emails. Use a consistent sender profile and authenticated domain. And again, I will expand on these two later on in the deliverability section. But what it basically means is that it's good to send from the same from name and from email address, and to have an authenticated domain with your ISP provider. Again, Marketing Cloud offers this package when you buy the platform. which is great. And yes, this helps tremendously with the deliverability. Making sure your template is mobile responsive. I mean, nowadays we all know that the people are a lot more likely to open their emails on mobile, which makes it really important to have email templates that are responsive and they look good on mobile as good as they look on desktop. Using a single call to action, which I mentioned that already. Choose a nice color palette. That's something that maybe doesn't come to mind straight away, but it's important to have a nice color, or if you use a combination, you know, to use colors that are complementing each other. Also think about the psychology of colors. If you look it up, there's things like red would make you feel anxious, or you would make your customers feel anxious, whereas blue or green gives the impression of calmness, and things like that. So just keep that in mind when you create or when you design your email template. Use hyperlinks and buttons. Again, no one really likes to see the entire URL string in an email. It looks ugly. It can make your email expand as well and not display properly. So best thing is to wrap the links behind either text or buttons or images. And then finally, test. I can't say it enough. For every email template or every email that you build, test and preview. If you have any dynamic content, test all the dynamic variables. Send yourself a test. Use tools like Litmus, which is integrated with Marketing Cloud as well, so it's easy to use within the platform, and test how the email looks on all the majority of ISPs, the screen sizes, the different iOS, and so on. There's so many out there now that it's hard to keep track of all. All right, so here I've pulled some examples of email designs, and as you could tell, this is an example of bad design. Don't even know where to start with this, but yeah, it's in both of them, especially the one on the right hand side is just so full of images. There's a lot of content in there. You don't know where to look. It's just yeah, it just makes your eyes cross-eyed probably, or at least with me anyway. And then the other one, like I said, it's just got so many call to actions. It's using a lot of red. It's just not visually pleasant. Versus some of the nice ones that, again, these are in contrast. They keep the text to a minimum. They focus on one thing and one thing only. I particularly like the Uber example, that it kind of plays on the idea of skimming through the content and just highlighting the words that you're more likely to read, and then again just having one call to action, both the top and the bottom, so you can't miss it. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with the bad examples and the good ones? Any comments on that? All right. Okay, I'm not sure how we're tracking with time. I think we're halfway through, so which is good. So next step is to have a look at email marketing, at Marketing Cloud Email Studio. Hold on, I just need to log into it. All right, just bear with me. Okay. I had it open, but then when I had to give permissions for screen sharing, then all my Google Chrome pages closed down.
I'm so sorry, I lost my connection in between.
That's okay. I'm just logging
Yeah,
in
so they-
into my.
Okay.
Yep. Did you want to say something, Kiari?
Yeah, we have certain questions. Want to take now or later?
Yeah, I can. I'm not sure if it's because I'm in presenter mode. I can't see the questions, so maybe if
Yeah,
I.
you can. Let me help you with that. So there's this
Okay,
question:
thank you.
if there is drop in deliverability rate, what action can we take so that it does not further drops?
So is it okay if I respond to that question when we get to the deliverability section? Because I'm gonna talk about it specifically.
The next, how to improve once the score reduced.
How to improve, sorry?
Domain reputation reduced.
Okay, so again, I think I'm gonna answer these questions when we get to the email deliverability part.
So we do have questions on that only. Maybe we can take it later.
All right, okay, sounds good. All right, so for everyone maybe that hasn't, that's not familiar with the platform, this is Marketing Cloud Email Studio. We've got menu at the top with the different sections of the studio. So this page is the overview page that shows you the most recent items, most recent sends, etc. And then the second tab is the content tab. So this is where you go and you create your email content. This area can also be accessed via Content Builder. The difference between the content in Email Studio is that you can only access emails in here. So to create emails, you just click on the Create button and then Email Message. And this takes you to a step-by-step guide on how to create your email. I'm not going to take you through this because I know there's another session on just Content Builder. So what I did is I prepared an email for you earlier, which I'm going to talk to you about. So if, let's say, this was an email that you were just creating or you wanted to send out, these are the areas to edit the email. So you have the content box available that you can use. And this is split between basic content, so your image blocks, your HTML blocks, text, buttons, and so on. And then you have advanced content, and this is used for things like A/B tests, dynamic content, etc. And then you have interactive content, which is an image carousel, or there is another block, but it depends on your platform whether there's more or less functionality enabled. You've got your subject line here and pre-headers. It's always good to have a pre-header because this helps when sending emails out in some inboxes. This will also show, and it just makes, it's just another opportunity to convince your email recipient to open your email. So in this example, what I've done is just I created a basic email using a header and a footer. As you can see, I kept it pretty minimal. And I just added a content block in here for some text. So this is a merge field that is used for personalization. So if you want to personalize the emails and pull in the first name, this is how you need to build the merge field. So it's always preceded and suffixed by ampersand. This area here, it allows you to edit the email within the UI. So if HTML is not your strongest skill, then you can always just use the UI. It's super friendly. You have a lot of options here to change the style of your text, to change the font, to decrease or increase the size, to add links. Where is the link here? So to add or remove links, to change the alignment of your text. So either you want it left side or centered, typically better left aligned. So you can add, let's say you want to hyperlink a word, then you can just click on it and you add the link in here. You can choose to link it to a secure or non-secure website, to redirect to an email address, any other cloud pages and documents and so on. So there's a few options there. You can add a title to your link and a link alias. This is helpful when for reporting. And you can, of course, change the link color and make it more bold, for example, so it stands out from the rest of the text. What else? You can add personalization directly from this UI. So you can choose from your profile attributes or system attributes, or you can use it straight from a data extension. So from your sendable data extension. When you're done with editing, you then just click on done editing, and this will take you out of that specific content block. Next, I used a subscribe button. So again, to create this is super easy. All you need to do is just drag and drop this type of content block and then edit it. From here, it's easy to just delete or duplicate content or edit. So I'm just going to delete this one that I just dragged. So I'm going to show you the subscribe button. So you can change this to anything you like. It allows you to customize it as you want. You can change the color of the font. You can make it again center aligned, left aligned, changing the color of the button. You can make it more or less rounded, or you can play with the borders as well. And also you can add links, as I showed you with the hyperlinks in the text. This is where you add the link into the button. And again, if you're happy with this, just click edit, done, and that's it. This is your email. After you create an email, it's always a good idea to preview and test, especially if you have personalization and dynamic content. You want to see that working. So what I suggest is to use a data extension with a test record in there, and then use that as your test to see if it's working. And you can also then send this to yourself in the email address. So this will send the email to your inbox. When you send tests or emails in general, you have the option here to choose the from name or use a send classification. So a send classification is basically a combination of from name and delivery sender profile, which makes it either a commercial or transactional. As I mentioned before, the difference between them is the commercial send classification, you will need to have an unsubscribe link, and it will not send to subscribers that have unsubscribed. Whereas the default transactional classification will overwrite that subscription status and will send to everyone in your list. And below here is what I mentioned before about the integration with Litmus. So if you have a Litmus account as well, you can log in and then integrate the two platforms together. Now, let's say you would be happy to send this email out. Then the easiest way to do is to click Save and Send. And this now takes you to the send email guided wizard. So in here, you would start with defining, again, if you don't have a subject line or you may want to change it, you also have the options to do it here. You would change or update the send classification. So the first step is to define these properties. Then click next. Then you select your audience. Ideally, you would have this audience already segmented and you would have a data extension already built. So for example, I built one before with the test record in there for this demo. So you drag and drop the data extension into the targeted area. And if you have any other contacts or subscribers that you may want to suppress, then you just drag and drop another data extension that would contain all those records into the excluded and suppressed area. And then you make sure that you have this deduplicate subscribers checkbox already ticked in there. If you use a primary key on your data extension, that should solve for duplicate records. But if you don't, then it's always a good thing to do it there too. And then lastly, you need to configure the day and time you want to send the email. So if it's immediately, then that's good. We're all good. If not, you have the option to schedule it sometime in the future. It's really important here to know that the times that you can select here are dependent on your user settings. So in my case, it's showing Sydney time Melbourne and Sydney, because that's where I'm based. You can also, you have a few more options here to suppress from sender report. I would only do this if it's a test send. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to keep that on. Track links, and also if you want to have this data sent to a send long, data extension. If you're happy with the configuration, then you click next. And then this is a summary page and an overview of your email send. So I would recommend just going through this again carefully to make sure you haven't missed anything. So check again that you selected the correct data extension, how many records you're expecting to have in there. If the number is different, then you might want to go back and check on that. Whether you have when the date and time is selected, if it's correct, and so on. If that's the email that you want to send out, again, this is just a last chance for you to pick up on anything that might not be correct. So when you've done all that and you're convinced that this is when you want to send it out, then you just tick this checkbox and you click on either schedule or send, depending on your configuration. So as you can see, unless you check this box, the button is also grayed out, so you can't click on it. I'm not gonna send it. Just wanted to show you. Any questions so far on the Email Studio functionality?
Yes, I suppose. When time gets picked up, is it org's time or user's time zone?
I think it's user's time, but you may want to double check on that. But from what I remember, I think it's the specific user time.
Can we send automated email, for example, every Saturday? An automated email regarding an advertisement will be sent to everyone in mail list.
So, sorry, the question is, can we automate emails to go out every Saturday?
Right, maybe regarding advertisement, and that should be sent to everyone who is in the mail list.
Yeah, you can schedule to have an email sent every Saturday. That's totally feasible.
Okay, and
On
can we
specific
send
days.
surveys from Email Studio?
Sorry?
Can we send surveys from Email Studio?
Surveys. Oh, you can have emails with redirect link to a survey. Yes. But you wouldn't typically create the survey straight in Marketing Cloud. You would probably want to use a survey tool that's specifically designed for survey, and then just have an email going out with a redirect URL or a call to action to submit the survey.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on. How many recipients can we add to auto mails?
How many subscribers you can add to an email
Yes.
list?
How many recipients can we add to auto mails?
You can have as many as you want. Obviously, it depends of your contact of your customer base, and how many contact records you own, and whether if it's a new org and a new IP address, you may want to be careful with sending too many too soon. But otherwise, you can have as many as you want. There's no really a hard limit on that.
Okay. I think you can continue now.
Cool. All right, the next area I want to move on to is interactions. And this is a bit of the older interface. So there's a number of different cold emails in here that may look a little bit confusing at first, but I'll take you through each one of them. So user initiated send is it's basically a method where you can specify or predefined email email definitions. So, and these are used mainly for when you want to send the same email multiple times. So, for example, you can schedule sends with emails on demand, or you can trigger this via APIs. So I'll show you how this looks. you would, firstly, you would give it a name. Then you would select the email. So again, you would want to have this email already built. And in here, you just configure the send definition. So I would go and where did I put my email here? Okay. So you give the definition a name. You select the email from your content builder. So the email that you selected before, you have the option here to use the same subject line or a different one. Again, the pre-header is auto-populated from the email. You choose the send classification. So everywhere you go in Marketing Cloud, when you're configuring email sends, you would always come against the send classifications, and you always have to choose between a commercial and transactional. So I'll keep it as transactional for now, but you can also have the options to override the sender profiles with something else if you want to. So if you want to have a dynamic one, default, or so on. Again, the same configuration here with sending the send to a send data extension. Next, you configure the audience. So similarly to the one that I showed you before, which is a guided send. This is a user-initiated send. So you select again the data extension. And as you can see, the UI is not as nice as on the other side. This is basically the older looking Marketing Cloud. The suppression list, you can do the same in here if you want to suppress the list. Do save. All right. Have the option to add CC or BCC emails in there as well if you want to. Otherwise, just leave them blank, and then user tracking, again, the same. So the same sort of configuration as before. The main difference is that with the guided send, you're typically the same person that would create or build that send, and you would just either activate or trigger it, or schedule it for later. Whereas in here, you create this email send definition, you save it, and then what you do is you can reference then this send definition from an API, for example, and you can action it from there, from a different system, basically. Any questions so far on the user initiated send? All right, I'll move on. I'm conscious of time as well. Salesforce send. So these are again, these are email sends that are sent to Salesforce data extensions. They have the same look and feel as the user initiated send. And then we have triggered send, which again, triggered send is an email sent to a individual subscriber in response to an action. So the trigger send is more of a one-to-one. So think about, again, a form, of a registration form confirmation, or something like that. That's where you would use triggered send. when someone makes a purchase, submits a form, when there's an action involved, that's when you would typically use a triggered send. And again, you would just create the send definition here, and then you would just use this definition with your form submission or whatever process, APIs, and so on. The trigger send now, there's another friendlier and better looking UI where you can also have this sent from Journey Builder. That looks a lot better than this. And then Journey Builder sends, of course, these are just the emails triggers from Journey Builder. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the last part of our presentation. And hold on, let me take this. I should be here. Oh, here we go. All right, so the next thing on our agenda is email deliverability, and I know there were some questions in the chat, but Marketing Cloud has some key elements that help with email deliverability and optimization, such as sender authentication package. So this is Marketing Cloud's branding tool. So what this does is it provides you with a unique branded domain. It wraps your URLs with that same domain, but it also authenticates your email with ISP providers. So authenticating your emails helps with differentiating your email from spam. It protects your brand and improves your deliverability. So some of the SAP package features include, like I said, account branding, private domain, dedicated IP address, and reply mail management. So this is how typically email branded domain would look like. So you would have email.mycompany.com. The other really cool feature in Marketing Cloud that helps with deliverability is Content Detective. And this helps scanning your content for any potential spam triggers. So things like click here, now, urgent, and there's a bunch of other words that could specifically trigger spams. Content Detective will flag those words, and if you have normally more than like two, it's probably a good idea to revise and review your content. Another good practice is to send to opt-in subscribers or contacts that you have a relationship with. So for example, customers or partners or anyone else that you would work with and they would expect a communication from you is typically fine. What's not good is sending to a bunch of contacts that you may have bought from third party that used to be allowed, not anymore, especially since the GDPR law came into effect in Europe, and before with CAN spam legislation, you are legally required to only send to contacts that have given you consent. Ensure your subject lines are not misleading. It's not recommended to use and anything that doesn't represent what's in the email, yeah, don't even go there. It's not a good practice and not a good experience from a customer point of view either. Put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you get an email that talks about something in the subject line, it's like a clickbait, and then you end up opening the email and it's something completely different. That's not a nice feeling. You feel like you've been fooled. Yeah, and those customers will be highly likely that they would unsubscribe. If you are defining your email as transactional, make sure that there's no promotional content in there. Otherwise, again, it could trigger people to just unsubscribe if you're using that just an excuse to get into their inbox. And if you have bounce rates that are higher than 20%, again, that's a really big red flag that you should have another look at your data and make sure that, one, the email addresses are correct. So have a look at the bounce tracking, at the bounce data view. That usually gives you a good view of the reason why those emails have bounced. So they give you quite a descriptive reason for why there's a bounce that was flagged. And if lots of them are to do with email addresses not being correct, not being valid anymore, then yeah, that's the first thing to start looking at. All right, and last but not least, IP worming best practice. So this is required for dedicated IPs only. If you're on a shared IP, you don't need to do this because this is only for brand new IP addresses that have never been used before. So if you have a dedicated IP, that's typically a new IP, in which case you do need to do IP worming. But it also depends on the size of your lists and your customer base. If you don't have that many, it's not going to do damage if you skip this step. But if you have a high number of subscribers, then you do need to go through this process. So why you need to do this? Like I said, you need to warm up these newly provided IP addresses, and that's because the ISPs are suspicious to when they're receiving mail from addresses that don't have any history attached. They do recommend to build this reputation slowly and methodically, sending in small batches and over time, and also starting with the most engaged subscribers and then adding in all the other ones. They would typically say that it would take somewhere around 30 days, but again, it all depends on the size of your customer base. And if you're migrating, let's say, from a platform from another platform to Marketing Cloud, and you need to do this IP worming, I would highly recommend to put a plan in place and select those emails and campaigns that are not time sensitive, so you can break them down between a number of days, and yeah, start with, I think Salesforce recommends something like starting with up to 50,000 in the first week, and then just adding on to that, so 100,000 the following week, 200,000 the third week, and so forth. And with that, we conclude the second episode of the Marketing Cloud workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, for such an insightful session. We do have few questions. Let me help you.
Sure.
Okay, let's start with, if there is a drop in deliverability rate, what action can we take so that it does not further drops?
Yes, so you would want to look into it and see what's the reason for the drops. And like I said, it's usually because of bounce backs and because data is not correct. If that's not the case and there's some underlying issues, then it's good to reach out to Salesforce support. They're super helpful, and they have access to more data behind the scenes that you might not be able to see in the standard report.
Okay, thank you. The next question is SAP automatically assigned to new clients or they need to purchase it?
So SAP comes out of the box, but you do need to work with Salesforce to have that implemented. So you will need to submit a form with some details required for them to configure it. So yes, it comes out of the box, but you need to work with them to enable it.
Okay. How to improve domain reputation once the score is reduced?
How to improve the reputation. So if you had a problem with deliverability, again, just start almost start from scratch again. Send, go back to your emails and see, do you have the right content? Are you sending to the right people? And start engaging those people slowly.
The next question is, are there any internal or external tools to monitor IP and domain reputation?
Yes, there is something called sendascore.org. That it's always hello.
We
Oh,
can hear you.
sorry. I thought I lost you for a moment. Can you still see my screen, or have I stopped sharing?
You have stopped sharing.
All right, okay. Oh, here we are. Okay. Sorry, what was that last question?
Are there any internal or external tools to monitor IP and domain reputation?
Yes, so sendascore.org. You typically you can go in there. I think it's free of charge, and you just put your IP address, and it gives you the score. There used to be another one, return path, but I know for that that's a paid solution. So unless yeah, you buy that, you probably don't have access to it.
Okay. Why do we use Litmus?
Why do we use Litmus? Great question. So Litmus is a great tool to test email templates. So both emails and landing pages. It gives you the option to test these emails in lots of with lots of ISPs, so lots of internet providers, lots of different inboxes. So if you're sending to different domains like Yahoo, Gmail, um, Outlook, and so on, all of them have different settings for emails. So although your email looks in one way when you build it in Marketing Cloud, sometimes when you send it, it looks different in certain inboxes. So it's always a good idea to test how it looks and how it renders in all these different tools and screens as well, especially like I said, with so many different mobiles now and operating systems and screen sizes and all of that. Litmus just gives you that at a glance view of all of these. Yeah.
So,
So,
does Einstein Insights will be a better option for A/B testing?
Einstein Insight, I think they're different things. A/B testing is more the traditional way of testing content. And you can do, you can test the different subject lines, pre-headers, different content blocks, times of sends, and so on. And what's good about it is that you can test on a small percentage of your data, and then you can pick the winner and then send that winning version to the majority of your list. Whereas I think with Einstein Insights, they'll just give you, insights on the engagement rates after you send the email out. So different functionality.
How to ensure that we remain compliant to the law of the land related to spamming, be it can spam, California law, anything.
Sorry, say that again, the
How
question.
to ensure that we remain compliant to the law of land related to spam.
Yeah, so with can spam, there's a few things that you need to consider. So firstly, you need to always provide a method of unsubscribing from the communication. So you need to have an unsubscribe link or a redirect link to another preference center where they can unsubscribe. And you need to have the physical address of the company in your footer. So these couple of settings you need to have in order to stay compliant. But Marketing Cloud is also smart in scanning for these details. So if you're trying to send an email out that's as a commercial email, it's not going to send unless it has these settings configured in the email, or it appends by default as well.
Okay, so are external objects supported in Email Studio?
Yes, you can. You can retrieve content from other sites, but you need to build connectors, and it's a bit more complex. But yes, it's possible.
Can we change the image for the deployed email?
No, once it's sent, it's sent. You can't you can't change that. What you can change is a URL. So, for example, you may have sent an email out and realize that a link is broken and it's not working. You can change that. You can go back and change that URL.
So if incorrect email is reached to user by the fine schedule, can we any way to stop this incorrect email?
Sorry, say that again. So
I, if incorrect email is reached to user by defined schedule, is there any way we can stop this incorrect email? No, right?
No. So again, the key is in the question. If the email has reached the inbox, there's no way you can stop that. If you have scheduled an email in the future and you realize that something wrong in there before it's being sent out, then you can cancel that send and reconfigure it to go out.
Can you show how to import this? Sorry, my mother was there. Can you show how to import the users via mass administration in Email Studio?
Show how to import, or say that again.
Can you show how to import the users via mass administration in Email Studio?
I think we're over time for doing that, but it's up to you if you want me to quickly
Yeah, so
show.
maybe if it'll take 5 minutes or so, then we'll take this last question.
Okay. So what's the last question? Or was that the last question?
Yeah.
That was the
Maybe
last
if you
question?
want to implement or if you want to take next questions, I have no issues with that as well. We have
Up to you. You decide.
okay, let's take this last question. Can the client make use of shared IP from Salesforce to send emails, or are they required to purchase private domains to send emails?
No, you do. You have the option to choose between a dedicated and a shared IP. They recommend one over the other depending on on the size of your database. So if if you have something like more than 500,000 records, and you typically send a high number of emails to those records, then they would recommend a dedicated IP address. Otherwise, IP shared addresses, they're perfectly fine.
So, Karishma, I would say that maybe you can drop Ona a DM and she will be able to show you, give you a demo or something, right? On that question, on how to import the users.
Yeah, or let me see. I don't know if you wanna. I can maybe show it now while I'm here. I think it'll be easier. All right, let me share my screen again. So for accessing your data in Marketing Cloud, ideally you would have Marketing Cloud integrated with your CRM, in which case you have the connector. You are sharing your screen. Yep. Can you see Marketing Cloud again?
Your screen.
All right, cool. So yeah, if you have your Marketing Cloud integrated with CRM, then you don't need to import any data. However, if you do need to import external data, then you come to this area called subscribers, and you click on data extensions. So data extensions are nothing but tables. Think about an Excel spreadsheet that you create, and it has different fields, and then the data is represented there in rows. So I'm going to show you one that I created before. All right, so this is one data extension that I created with only 3 fields. But if you were to have, more fields in here and you want to add to import data, then you just click on records and then click on import. And this will take you through the import wizard. So you have the option to browse and select a file from your computer or from your FTP account. And then you have a few configurations here. You can add an update, override, add only, or update. That's the import type. And also a couple of other options here. And then if you click on next, but I can't go next now because I need to select something. But when you click next, then you can configure the field to map. So from your file to the data extension. And then you just click review, import, and then that's it. That's how you do it.
Perfect.
So not too difficult.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ona, for such a wonderful session. Thank you all for joining us in.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks